Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. I'm Maya. 2C and the Islamic Republic of Iran have issued an official fatwa against the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces have successfully eliminated the latest Hamas leader, who was also one of the founders of the organization in Gaza. Attacks in Iran, especially in the capital Tehran, by Mossad operatives on the ground also continue. The Iranian regime have now said there is no ceasefire anymore. This is just a temporary pause and they are preparing for an all-out war. We're going to give you guys all the details that we have for you guys, a number of videos to show you, and a message from the Crown Prince of Iran in exile, Reza Pahlavi. Don't forget to download the 2C TV app, the home of geopolitical news, today to get access to all our news alerts, live shows, documentaries, chat forum, podcast, everything that we have. Also, the standard tickets for the new media conference that we are holding on the 9th of August in central London is out. You can go on 2cevents.tv, check it out for yourselves. You don't want to miss out. We bring in all the new media outlets from all around the world to join us for a new media revolution. All right, let's start. The Israeli Defense Forces earlier on confirmed the elimination of Mohammed Isa al-Isa. I mean, I don't know why they have so many Isas in their names, but okay. Who is a founding member of Hamas and their military wing. And he was also a key organizer of the 7th of October invasion of Israel. As the head of combat support, Mohammed oversaw Hamas's force build-up, train, and of course the aerial and naval assault plans as well. The Israeli Defense Forces say that the operations to target the remaining leadership of Hamas is ongoing because of course they have a deadline, which is about a week and a half, to completely finish the operation in Gaza, get the Arab nations to come in and control, especially Egypt, and any remaining member of Hamas will either have to be eliminated or sent into exile. Probably taken by Egypt, basically. Now, having said that, this hasn't really made things easy because obviously the Iranian regime are furious. They are losing all their proxies. They are also still being attacked by Mossad operatives on the ground. The supreme leader is still in the bunker. The airspace is still closed. This is not a ceasefire. Now, just because the international mainstream media is not reporting any of this, doesn't necessarily mean peace has returned to the Middle East. Everything is completely kicking off. So, let's talk about the Grand Ayatollah. That's not Khamenei. No. Khamenei, of course, is in a bunker. So, Iran's Grand Ayatollah, Nasser Makram Shirazi, has now issued an official fatwa against President Trump, but also he's labeled anyone who threatens the Islamic leadership, including, of course, those at the top, are Muharib, which is basically a status that under Islamic law carries out a death penalty, or as we say, an official fatwa. When they issue a fatwa, that means that it's essentially like a bounty on your head, and they will proactively try to assassinate you. So the idea now they have is they've rejected any sort of future negotiations with the Americans. The IRGC are now saying we have a fatwa against President Trump. If we see him anywhere, if we can, we will take him out. Now, good luck with that, obviously, because it's not going to be easy. Having said that, they do have a lot of sleeper cells around the world, especially in the US, in Canada, and elsewhere. So they have to be careful. But this is the evidence that we have, the official fatwa that has now been written, saying anybody threatening or acting against the supreme leader is the enemy of Allah and he deserving of death. So if you criticize the Iranian government, apparently Allah is going to be very, very angry. And Allah has told the National Council of the Islamic Republic, he told them directly, he picked up the phone, Allah, and said, guys, is anybody there in Iran? Okay, so if they criticize you, your policies, that means that they're coming after me and you have to do your fatwa. So that's now the official policy. Meanwhile, more explosions and attacks in Iran continue, this time in the southwest of the capital, Tehran, in Islamshah. and Ahmedabad as well. Both areas known for military and industrial sites, obviously considered very sensitive for the IRGC. Mysterious attacks and drones, obviously Mossad operative. Now, obviously, the Iranian regime have also told the people inside the country that we are still at a state of war. So nothing has actually changed. So the checkpoints and the IRGC militias are still on the ground in all the major cities: Tehran, Mashhad, Isfahan, Shiraz, Tabriz. And they are literally checking everybody, all the cars, all the mobile phones. Even if you little bit criticized the government, even the government, then you will be arrested. This is to basically prevent a proper uprising. And they've also arrested many of the Jews who are, some of the Jews who still left in Iran, not many of them, obviously. And they've all been arrested as well because they are now being accused of being Mossad. These are the same Jews in Iran who the only reason they're allowed to stay and live in Iran is there was a condition. They told them, you have to publicly denounce Zionism and the state of Israel, and even in your synagogues, you have to have a picture of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and basically go against the Star of David and everything else. So that's the condition as a Jew if you want to live in Iran. And there's a tiny minority, and now they're being arrested left, right, and center because they are Jews. So earlier on, there was also reports of the air defense system being activated, this time in the city of Shiraz, which is in the southern parts of the country. We are trying to get more information about this. This is confirmed by Iran International as well. I mean, 99% at this point. This was clearly yet another drone attack. That's why the air defense was activated, as in compared to the other operations that Mossad is doing right now in Iran in terms of the assassinations. You either see drone attacks or planted bombs or things like that. So seems like the drones have been activated in Shiraz as well as in Tehran. The attack in Tehran has been successful. In Shiraz, we don't know exactly what happened. Now, meanwhile, according to the Iranian regime's report, there is a confirmation now, part of the assassinations that we've seen over the last couple of days. We can now say that Ismail Shakari, who's the commander of the Iranian Khomeini garrison, has been eliminated in Qom. Now, the opposition reports that Shakari played a key role on the 7th of October in training the Hamas operatives, especially when it came to the paragliding techniques. Remember, obviously, Hamas terrorists use paragliders to get into the Nova Music Festival and other places, as you can see in the photo in the top right. It was his job to train them to do that. Now, while the fatwa has been issued against the president and everybody else basically at this point, it's a very, very broad fatwa. The foreign minister of Iran, ARGC, has now said that all countries that launched an attack on Iran or supported or didn't basically defend Iran against the attacks by Israel and America must compensate for the damage that they have caused. So the Iranian regime are now a bunch of crybabies who are going to go around the world and beg for money. They are still somehow declaring that they won. They had a victory parade. But now they're saying, you caused so much damage, you need to give us money, please. How does that work? Anyway, that's the official position. But the National Security Committee of the Islamic Republic and one of its members, another Ismail Khaturi, has now said officially, and I quote, "There is no ceasefire, only a temporary pause. War will resume when the other side chooses." And he's also warned President Trump that any attempt to assassinate senior Iranian officials will be met with a painful response harsher than Operation True Promise 3. Now, somebody needs to tell Ismail that over the last few days, there's been a lot of eliminations, a lot of assassinations. So does he not know? Or he knows and they're just talking nonsense using classic IRGC bluffs that, oh, this time we're going to destroy you. This time, if you do it again, oh, next time we're going to go harsh. Well, you keep getting assassinated left, right, center. Do something if you really care. Now, in terms of the opposition against the Islamic Republic, the leader of the opposition, the Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, or King Reza, has now released a new statement saying that today I launched, this, obviously, as I said a few days ago, he mentioned that he was going to create a new system for those who are defecting from the army to get in touch with him. So he did now confirm today that I have launched a secure communications channel for members of Iran's armed forces, security personnel, and others seeking to break rank with the regime and join the Iranian people. To those whose hands are not soiled with blood, I will guarantee their place in the new Iran. This is according to Reza Pahlavi. Of course, he now says that there have been hundreds and hundreds of members of the armed forces, the actual military in Iran, not the IRGC, who have now got in touch with him and his team over the last couple of weeks, and they have now said that they are defecting and they're on standby. Obviously, I believe that at this point there's not going to be any rash decision. They have to, the whole point of this new communication channel that the prince has created is to make sure there's coordination first, everybody knows everybody first, do a planning, and then strike at the IRGC, considering that the regime is weaker than ever before. Meanwhile, in Gaza, as we said, one of the founders of Hamxs has now been eliminated. The operation by the IDF continues, and the problem with this is that there's a massive pressure on the Israelis because they have about a week and a half, less than that, to finish. Now, there have been a number of areas in Jabalia, for example, and the Gaza city itself that have been completely evacuated now. Some of the Gazans have decided to stay, and you can imagine why. They are either voluntarily pro-Hamas or they've been forced to stay. At this point, I don't think the argument that they're forced to stay works because the majority have now evacuated and they've gone to the humanitarian corridors. The Israelis and the Americans are giving them humanitarian aid. They're controlling the whole thing. Everything's fine. Now, anybody who stays in those areas, why are you staying? Watch this video. It's a weird response. As a human being, you know that there is going to be a strike, there's going to be an attack. You've been told, why would you stay? Normal people leave, like in Tehran. When the operation was happening by the IDF, people left, unless they were pro-IRGC. Now, one of the main problems that we now have is that the moment Hamas is completely gone, which is apparently in about a week, that's when the operation is supposed to be ending, and the Arabs will have to come and take control of Gaza with the help of the Americans. The IRGC are going to kick off. They are completely going to kick off because Hamas is not just a normal proxy. The whole point of Hamas and Hezbollah specifically are to advance the Iranian regime's Palestine cause. And if the Palestine cause has been eliminated and undermined, then there is no need for the existence of the Islamic Republic in Iran. They were literally created as a propaganda to do the whole nonsense about Al-Aqsa in Judea and Samaria. Now, if that goes, then what is the agenda? What is the point of the IRGC? Anyway, let's get some reaction. Of course, as I said, don't forget to download the 2CTV app from your app stores today, the home of geopolitical news, to get access to all our podcasts, the documentaries, the chat forum, and of course, the live shows as well. All right, what are you guys saying in the live chat? Let's go to some super chats first. Issa squared, yep. A lot of, I don't know why he had two Issas in his name. Great news, Maya. I from the Elena ER train somewhere in the UK. You're watching this on a train. Great, that's brave. You're gonna get cancelled. What's up with all these terrorists unsupporting the name of Issa? Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it? But to be fair, the Arabic version of the name, one of the main points of that was the creation of Islam as an ideology was to plagiarize from technically both the New Testament and the Old Testaments, right? From both Jesus and Moses. But most of, if you actually read and understand the Quran and the whole creation of Islam as an ideology, it's mostly stolen from the Torah. and the Old Testament. They basically copied that, and they thought, because at that point, there were clashes between some of the Jews and, of course, Christians. It's been going on for a while. And after Jesus. And they thought, okay, so what we're going to do, we are going to embrace Jesus, but not as the Son of God, but as a prophet. So basically, they said, we are respectful towards Jesus. So they did the whole thing, and obviously, even the name Mary, or Mariam, still embraced by the Islamic side. But some people fell for the propaganda, saying, oh, they accept Jesus. They don't accept Jesus. They basically see him as some sort of intern, work experience prophet. That's it. That's why they did that. Islamic Republic of Iran, 1979 to 2025. It's basically already dead. It's just that they just have the guns on the streets, pretending that the corpse that is the IRGC is still alive. It's not. It's basically the weekend at Bernie's. Maya, I'm supposed to be flying to England on the 24th. Can we please, for the love of God, get a message to everyone to start S after that? I love from Israel. P.S. I also called Allah. He said, don't. 24th of when? I'm assuming July, right? I don't know. Maybe it will happen by then, but I can try and tell them not to start a war anytime soon. Allah won't even be able to hear what's going on if he hasn't entered the lowest heaven, earth. One compensation? Ask Mr. and Mrs. Thunberg. Why? Palestine has a long history back to 1964. Literally. And also the flag that they've got was stolen from a different country, from Jordan, which was supposed to be basically the two-state solution. For the love of God. Anyway, so yeah. But it's funny because they're still going around saying, yeah, Palestine always existed. How? It's been always a lie. Anyway, let's get some reaction from the members, the beautiful members of 2CTV Plus. What is happening here? All right. You guys causing trouble again. Deb says, do you think Trump will take him out? No. If anybody's going to take him out, it's going to be the IDF, not Trump. Also, I think he's just going to die himself. At this point, I'm convinced. He's still stuck in a bunker. And he's ill. You saw the way he was speaking in the last video, pre-recorded video. I don't know how many takes they did. He's not going to survive. He's very old, he's very ill, and he's very depressed and stressed. And it's not really good for your mental health and physical health. Being a dictator is a very tough job. How much does the Islamic Republic want to die? I hope Iran will be free soon. Well, yeah, everybody's on their toes. Everybody's on standby to see what happens within the next few weeks and months now. I'm sure Trump is terrified. Yeah, and I'm sure that the Secret Service are very, very scared now, saying, well, this is the end, guys. President Trump needs to resign because otherwise they're going to assassinate him. Don't forget, the Iranian regime have fatwa against a number of people. And the closest they've got was actually Salman Rushdie. And he's still alive. They damaged him a lot, but he's still alive. Strange that President Trump prevented anyone from killing the Ayatollah, but the fatwa has been put on him. No one can really read President Trump right now in terms of what he's planning to do. What does he actually mean with everything that he's saying about Iran? Does he know something? I mean, he definitely knows more than us because he's got access to all the intel. But is he planning something? Or not in terms of the Americans doing something, but more like just wait because something is about to happen. We all know how the Donald deals with threats. So happy the ceasefire was a ruse. Hit them now and hit them hard. Thanks, Maya. Join the 2CTV family, everyone. Thank you. The assassination attempt on the defense minister Israel Katz is now investigated. It is supposed to be an Iranian spy. Scary, really. I would never have thought that any Israeli Jew could be corrupted to work for Iran. Well, one of the fascinating things about the world of spies, and it's not really just spies, you can't just call them spies because spies are supposed to be gathering intel, but also operatives. You'd be surprised. There have been some very, very Islamic families in Iran who were part of the IRGC. Some of them turned out to be operatives for Mossad. Why? They are very different people. It works because at times there's a bit of a blackmail situation, extortion, threats against their family if they don't cooperate. It works both ways. And at times it could just be a very long-term plan. to infiltrate and pretend that you're this or pretend you're that. It is hard on the surface to realize how can someone from an Islamic family help the Jews in Israel, the Zionists, or vice versa. When are we taking out the Islamic regime of Iran? They have threatened the President of the United States with his life. Come on now, how much longer are we gonna let them stay in power? The thing is, the president doesn't really care much about the threats, because there were a number of death threats and attempts on his life a year ago and a couple of years ago by the IRGC. Obviously, they were prevented before they got serious. But President Trump, despite what the liberal media want you to think, he's not really an irrational person. He doesn't really go crazy in the moment. His rhetoric could exaggerate certain things. But if he were to make a rash decision, then obviously he would have done it when he was being there was an attempt on his life by the IRGC. So anyway, Lisa says, I hope Bibi flattens Gaza. There's no need to do that now because it's just about taking over. I hope that the US will join Israel in the next operation. Europe needs another Bibi. Netanyahu needs to take a lot of credit despite all the criticisms. Paul says, should have never stopped the war until all IRGC were eliminated. Again, we have to just wait and see what the next step is supposed to be, because none of that made sense. I mentioned yesterday on the channel, President Trump was saying, oh, I can't really tell Israel to stop because they are winning, and Israel was winning, and then suddenly 6 hours later, ceasefire was imposed onto Israel by President Trump. And people say that's betrayal. It's not necessarily that. It doesn't have to be that. We just have to wait, because they clearly can tell that that Khamenei was always still going to be in the bunker, and the regime is not back to normal. They're still in the state of war. So maybe they're waiting for the defectors. Yeah, because obviously if the regime change happens while the Israelis and the Americans are attacking Iran, it would be seen as the Americans and the Israelis imposed regime change. See the issue? So they didn't want to be seen that way. At least the Americans didn't want to be seen that way, especially after Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya. So you could make an argument that they realize, oh, that they're about to lose. Let's withdraw a little bit because they're weak anyway. Because if they die now while we're still attacking them, everyone's going to blame it on us. Let the Iranian people finish the job, I guess. Or the infighting. Now, fascinating unprecedented paradigm in which the Iranian people can go about their day while their tyrants are systemically being taken out. Yeah, ironically, I mean, they're not really back to normal, the people themselves, because a lot of businesses, shops, the markets are still closed and people are still terrified. But yeah, people can still drive around while the leaders of the IRGC continue to get assassinated. That's one of the things I haven't quite got yet. I've always thought that once you have your opponent on the floor, never let him get up. But it could be that there's a plan. Yeah. Time to bomb Kharj Island. That would paralyze Iran. Paralyzing is not enough. What are your thoughts on the Glasgow and no charges? But we're going to talk about that after this live stream. Don't worry. Larry, we're gonna do a whole live report after this, because there was an incident today in London at Hyde Park, and I will link into what you just said about Glastonbury. Anyway, there is a lot more to be happening. I think there's a couple of super chats I might have missed. Apologies. Lisa says, I hate that Isa al-Isa rhymes with my name. Lisa, yes. Isa al-Lisa. Sounds like Lisa. Yep, that's a good one. Love that. What if the fatwa actually means make America great again in Iranian? That is a good one as well. I was going to make it up, but I don't know what F could stand for. But A could be America. W could be win. Yeah, someone come up with some sort of acronym for fatwa. Well, acronym as fatwa. Allah doesn't know what the F is doing. And has the new Ayatollah issued his own fatwa against you? No, my fatwa is, I think it's expired now. Because the fatwa against my life by the regime was a while ago. And I've been a good boy since then. So I haven't really caused any trouble, as you know. So apart from the kidnapping attempt a couple of years ago, everything's fine. I'm good. Meanwhile, someone's going to take me out with a sniper from the window. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this was informative. We're going to keep you guys posted. We're going to take a quick break and come back shortly and tell you guys about what on earth is happening, the relationship between Islamists, the far left, and the police in the United Kingdom. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.